Good day, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for this introduction to MetalX, taking the headache out of metal roofs. This is going to be a really good presentation today. It's a very interesting product with a very clear value proposition. A lot of interesting information here. So thank you for being with us. Some quick housekeeping information. Over on the right side of your screen in the panel, you'll see several functions that may be of use to you during this. You can raise your hand at any time if you have a question. You can also use the question box, and we'll relay that to the presenters as we go through. And we'll also have time at the end for any live questions that you might have. If you raise your hand, we can put your audio into the webinar, and you'll be able to talk directly with the presenters. Please, at any time, if you have questions, do ask us. The webinar is being recorded today, and you'll receive an email with the recording link in it within about a day if you want to refer back to this. So thanks again for being here. Your presenters today are Jonah Coles, Chris Berg, and Jason Comstock. I'm going to now ask them to introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonah Coles. I was the product solutions manager at Equilibrium Solar at the time we were acquired by Unirac, and I'm excited to present MetalX to you today as now part of the Unirac group of products.
Thanks, Jonah.
Hi, this is Chris Berg. I am the project solutions manager, kind of Jonah's counterpart. Work with the applications team and customers to make sure that we're getting the solution correct for every project we're sending back. Been in the solar industry since 2008.
Thanks. Jason?
Hi, thanks everybody. My name's Jason Comstock, and I'm in the field support business. If you need any help with training, either virtual or in person, I'm your guy. You can also reach me by email or phone if you have any questions about installation or any of our products. I'm here to help.
Thanks. And I am Will Reichert. I'm a customer's operations specialist here at Unirac. I'll be your moderator for today. Just to tell you a little bit about Unirac as a whole, some of you maybe aren't familiar with us and are coming to us through the acquisition of Equilibrium. So just to give you a little sense of who we are, we have been an industry leader for more than 20 years in products. We've developed a number of firsts in the industry. We have more than 5 gigawatts of installs out there in the world. So really one of the leading providers of solar racking equipment in the world. Our installation support is part of what sets us apart and part of what made Equilibrium so attractive as an acquisition, because their installation support is very similar to ours. We can be there in the field with you as you're working, giving you best practices, advice, helping you set up and work efficiently. We also have a very extensive range of services to offer: commercial support, engineering support, drawings, just anything that comes up. We have a team here of experts working around the clock who can help you. And finally, a very robust supply chain, very diverse. As COVID was breaking, we had already diversified where we were getting our material from. And so we've had very little impact from COVID. We're still shipping with industry-leading lead times, which has been very exciting. And finally, there at the bottom, you see our slogan, Better Solar Starts Here. And this informs everything we do at Unirac. It means that we do everything with the customer in mind first. We are looking to bring constant new value to you, our trusted partners. Our product lineup is growing, obviously. MetalX is one of the stars that you'll hear about today. But just to give you a little sense of everything Unirac does, because we have a breadth that is hard to match in the industry. You see there on the left, we now have 5 different ballasted flat roof lines with a variety of tilt angles, row spacings. So an option to fit almost any roof that you will run into. Pitched roof options, MetalX will be one that you'll hear about today. We have a traditional rail-based system, very popular, our solar mount product. We also have now 2 different rail-less products, one of which is very closely related to MetalX. And then finally, we have several ground mount lines. We have a ground fixed tilt, which is very robust, ULA, which is very versatile, and also our EcoFoot ground. So Unirac is really a one-stop shop, and it's very exciting to be introducing products like MetalX to you. And with that, Jonah, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Will. So yeah, we're here today to talk about MetalX and just a little preview of what we'll be going over. First on the slides here is just a pretty quick overview of how the system was developed, what what the system serves, what problem it really solves, and then we'll be doing some live demo here. I've got some parts here. We have a little mock-up behind me, and I also have a mock roof here. So I'm actually going to install 3 modules just to give you an idea of the speed and ease of how MetalX installs. But just starting with where MetalX came from, we felt like there was a gap in the market for metal roof solutions, and we felt like customers were not really seeking out metal roofs as an opportunity to develop solar projects. We had a very successful railless product called EcoX that's been used by high volume installers as well as long tail installers, and it's been a successful product because it's streamlined, it's a densely packed, well thought out product that has shown efficiencies in specifically the residential market, where installers were used to doing maybe a job a day. Railless was really the leap to that 2 job a day standard that a lot of installers are following now. I mean, back when I started in installing solar in 2007, it might take us 2 or 3 days to do a single residential job, and that progressed obviously, and it came all the way to this railless wave where it did take a leap in efficiency in the residential market. And we saw the success there, and we saw some things in that product line of EcoX that we could apply to other roof types or other situations, specifically commercial and metal roofs. We didn't have a great metal roof solution, and we thought we could take some things from EcoX and create one. And we also were hearing from customers that they weren't looking for metal roofs, that metal roofs were maybe even a distraction or not a desirable building to install on. So we did a little research and found that metal roofs are actually, I believe, maybe the best application for rooftop solar, just because they have structure integrated into them. They have, they've been engineered with various roof profiles and shapes to add strength to a rooftop without a lot of material. And it also happens that the ribs and seams on metal roofs are easy to attach to, in some cases without even penetrating the roof on a standing seam clamp. But we believe that the reason that installers were not necessarily going for that opportunity was largely that there was some extra work to be done on their end to design the system properly. Finding the right roof attachment for the very specific roof profile can be challenging. There are a lot of standing seam clamps out there and a lot of roof profiles out there for standing seam and R panel. And I think that solar installers weren't necessarily used to selecting the right attachment. And then once you select the right attachment, you then have to figure out the spans, which are going to be different than a rafter attachment, because the pullout values for a metal roof attachment are different than a rafter attachment. And then I think the third problem was just sourcing and not having a place that really had the complete packaged solution. So that was the problem that we were really trying to address, and what we feel like MetalX does address. And it happens that it came out at a very low cost, and so we found that racking for metal roofs can be the lowest mounting solution out there if you compare it to other roof types. So just to get a sense of how the audience is feeling about installing on metal roofs, we have a couple of poll questions. So I'm just going to launch this first one, which is just simply, is your organization actively looking for metal roofs to install on? And while folks are answering that, I'll just mention this picture. I want you to remember the empty roof. The top image there is a uniquely shaped roof, and we're going to show what that project came out looking like. That's the Greensboro, North Carolina bus depot. So it's a nice public building. People see the system pretty regularly, and we're pretty pleased to be able to design a nice system for that. So I'm also going to ask another poll question, which is when you think about the types of installations and projects that you're installing or developing, what do you feel like is the most cost-effective and easiest type of install to, I guess, design, purchase, and install, you know, thinking about the whole process? So I'll give you a moment to answer those questions. And it sounds like people are really engaged in looking for metal roofs and seeing that opportunity, which is awesome, and probably a big reason why you're all here. So some of the advantages of MetalX are, and we'll see how this plays out as I show you the parts themselves and demonstrate for you. It's not a rail-based system, so there's 73% less aluminum on the roof as compared to a rail-based system, and that is a big part of the lowest cost per watt that you see there. In my experience, this install is the lowest cost per watt for a mounting system that you're going to find out there, and it also has great install speed. And what we've done with MetalX to solve the problems that I mentioned earlier is to create a fully packaged solution for metal roofs, making it easy to design, easy to buy. The shipping density with the rails out of the picture is pretty incredible. We're shipping a 300 kilowatt system with everything you need to install it on a single pallet. And also full support, as Will mentioned, the Unirac team acquired Equilibrium. We really prided ourselves at Equilibrium Solar in supporting the customer with your projects, making sure they're successful, getting the design to you, and also providing that complete package so that you don't need to look elsewhere for the roof attachment or the wire management or MLPE mounting. And so we've created MetalX in a way that it does provide that complete package, and it takes all of the work off of the installer or developer. So I see on the poll, a lot of the audience is recognizing metal roofs as really an opportunity for a lower cost install, which is great. So MetalX, the core components of it, the first one here is...
If I could just jump in for 1 second. It looks like we're still seeing the poll slide. You may have to reshare your presentation.
Thank you, Will.
You're welcome.
Did that address the visual?
It may take 1 second here. I'm still seeing the poll slide. Sorry, everybody. Get this straightened out here in 1 second. There you go.
Okay, and then I stopped it. So, are we set now, Will?
It all looks correct now. Yes, thanks, Jonah.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that, everybody. So this is what you see here is the core of the MetalX system. This is what's securing the module to the roof. We have a solution for all roof types, standing seam, R panel, no matter what profile that R panel is, as well as corrugated. And what you're looking at here is the X clamp on top of a standing seam clamp in the graphic, as well as you see the other options there. And that is what is connecting the module to the roof. It's very easy to install. You see in the lower right corner, when you have a module in place on a lower row, to locate this next clamp, it's just slid down to the module frame. So we're taking advantage of the north-south adjustability of the standing seam. And then our R panel and corrugated roof attachments have slots that provide adjustability so that the X clamp can slide right down to the module frame. And you'll see how that works as I demonstrate live here shortly. So the unique aspect of MetalX as compared to some other direct attached systems for metal roofs is that we are taking advantage of the coupling, which has come out of that railless EcoX product I mentioned earlier. What the coupling does is reduces attachments by structurally joining modules together along a row and also row to row. So you see there the large image of the coupling. We also have an end coupling on the array. You'll see there at the south edge, the bottom edge of the array, which is just joining 2 modules, and the coupling is joining 4 modules together. So that creates a continuous structure throughout the array. And that allows us to reduce the number of attachments because we no longer need 2 columns of attachments for every column of modules. So that coupling really is the secret to MetalX being a reduced cost option because there are fewer attachments, but also a much better install experience. If anybody's ever installed a typical direct attach metal roof product, those 2 columns per module, 2 columns of attachments per column of modules can be tedious to locate. If you have a row of 25 modules, you have to measure out where each of those modules is going to begin and end to properly locate the attachments. With MetalX, all that's required is to measure where the array begins and ends, and your project design will give you the span that you are allowed based on your site conditions, and you'll just follow that span as if you were installing L-feet or attachments for rail. And the coupling is what allows us to do that. The next graphic here shows that structure radiating out from the coupling. So the strength of one module is connected to the strength of the adjacent module via the coupling, and that allows us to span attachments without having to worry about where that module begins and ends. So I'm going to stop showing the screen and switch to a live view here. And just show you behind me, we've got a little mock-up array. I'm going to show you the actual array on the roof here shortly, but I want to just show you live where these parts go. So this is the end coupling. That's what's joining 2 modules together with integrated bonding pins. So that's going to bond the modules along the row. And that end coupling is going to be placed at the top edge of array and bottom edge of array. And then this is the standard coupling that's going to be joining 4 modules together. It has a downhill side with this short flange, again, integrated bonding from one module to the next. And then this larger flange sticks uphill. One of the install advantages of MetalX is that we can tighten clamps and couplings to the downhill row and then have a compression fit to drop the module in on the next row. And that's a real advantage. It allows you to tighten all of the modules in a row and then be able to drop in the modules, which you'll see on the roof, and not have to worry about going back and reaching over to secure the fasteners. So that's another unique aspect of MetalX that makes the install much faster. So then this is our X-clamp end, which is going to secure the module to the roof. So this is going to be used on the roof attachments along the bottom and top edges. Then here I have an example of the X-clamp mid, which is going to go between rows on a standing seam. You see how easy it is to just slide it down to the module, and then this gets tightened, and then you'll tighten the set screws, and that tightens the whole system or the whole module to the roof. So now I'm going to bring us over to the mock roof here and just demonstrate how quick it can be to install MetalX systems. And while I'm doing that, if there are any questions that have come up, Chris or Jason or Will, if you wouldn't mind addressing those, and we can talk while I'm setting this up.
Sure thing. And just to remind everyone again, there's a question box in the panel on the right. You can also raise your hand and we can communicate that way.
Okay. So here we have our array with 3 modules already installed. And I'm going to install the next row of modules. The first row of modules does take 2 people to install, and that's because we have the coupling that needs to be installed downhill, and then also as well as the clamps, and then the clamps and couplings uphill. So for just the first row, it is really necessary to have 2 people. In the lab here, I can fumble through it by myself, but on a live job, I think it really is important to have 2 people install that first row. But with 2 people, it is very easy. I'm going to address wire management a little bit here too. I think that's the biggest question that we get from installers, is how to manage wires when the rails are no longer there, if anybody is not used to a railless installation. And there are 2 keys. One is using the parts that are in the system. You know, rails are sure convenient for running wire, but it's a lot of material to add to a system just for that convenience. So take advantage of the module frame and also the clamps and couplings. We can put wire clips on the clamps and couplings as well as on the module frame to run home runs across a row, and then also to run home runs up the row. The biggest difference for any installer that's not used to railless is the process, really. It's managing the wires and running home runs as the array is built, rather than as an extra step where rail-based systems, you have that whole step of putting up the rail, and then the next step is doing a lot of the home runs and maybe securing MLPEs and getting those home runs to a junction box. With railless or with MetalX direct attach systems, it's doing the wiring as you go, which ends up being a lot faster. And that's been proven in the residential market. And then also with our MetalX customers, we are getting the feedback that these installations are significantly faster. But we mentioned training is available. We've got Jason on the line, and we have installation sales specialists all over the country who can help with that learning curve of just figuring out some different strategies to run wire. It's very easy to do. It's just a matter of getting some tips and tricks and strategies. So the first part of that is mounting MLPEs, which are going to be mounted to the module frame. And I have some modules that are already prepped with this. So I've got a solar edge here. This is our new MLPE Tiger Clip, which is an improved hold for MLPEs, even the largest ones, some of the dual module units to the module frames. It's also great for even some of the smallest module flanges, as their module manufacturers are saving material and making their frames smaller and smaller. This bracket works on a module flange as small as 3/8 of an inch. It doesn't need much to grab onto, and it's going to hold it there securely for the life of the system. It's very easy to do. This bolt just slides onto the slot, and then the module flange, you'll put this onto the flange and tighten the bolt, and then you will have secured and bonded your MLPE unit to the module frame. So I've already done that, and one of the keys to good wire management on this system is to have a plan and to really think about where your wire clips are going and where your wires are being routed. Some people get really good at this, but when you're installing 100 to 500 kilowatt system, it's going to pay off to nitpick exactly where those wires are located and where your wire clips are being placed as you prep modules. So I've already prepped the 3 modules I'm about to install with the wires in a place where I know exactly where they are, and I'm just going to reach under the module. I won't have to look under. I'm just going to reach and connect them together. So just to run through what I'm about to do, I've already placed wire clips on the clamps and couplings along this row, as well as a few on the module frame underneath. And I've got a home run started. I'm going to run that home run across, leave the slack here to eventually be run up the roof as the array is built. And then I'm going to drop in 3 modules. I'm going to place those modules just starting at the far end, and I'll demonstrate the drop-in feature that is a major advantage with MetalX compared to other direct attach systems. All of these clamps and couplings that are securing this row here are tight, and it's still going to allow me to drop in the module from above. And then all I need to do is tighten the clamps and couplings above the row that I'm about to install. And I want to show you just a close-up as well of two things here. One, this is a new R panel attachment that we're excited about, the Power Mount Adjust. And it's got a slot in it here for north-south adjustability. The great thing about this is we don't need to know now exactly what the dimensions of your R panel roof are, because we have all the flexibility to come out as far as 3 inches wide and then as tight as 3/4 of an inch as far as the dimension at the top of the rib. And then also any angle can be accommodated by this. So it's a great product for R panels. It's easy to install, but also it's really universal for pretty much any R panel profile that you're going to see out there. Then the other thing I want to show a close-up of is this slot, how it works. So when we're installing R panel, we're going to install these mounts just one row above the row of modules we've just installed, because we have adjustability, but it's not a ton of adjustability. It's about 1 inch. And if you install all of your attachments before you start laying modules, inevitably you're going to have a row or an attachment here and there where that slot's not going to reach. So we highly recommend just installing 1, maybe 2 rows above the module that you've just installed, so that you can take advantage of the adjustability, but not run out of your adjustability. So the way this works, when I install a module, it's going to come down here. I'm just going to slide this out of the way and then slide it to the frame. And that's the process. And then I'll be taking the couplings and just pressing that down to the frame as well. So I'll do that. I'll run the home run and install 3 modules, and it should take about 4 minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonah. And if anybody has questions as we go through this, please feel free.
The home run is run. I'm just going to lay the rest up the roof. I've got a nice big landing pad for this module to set down on. Then just drop it down. Slide the clamp out of the way. Same thing. Slide the clamp up and back down. And here again, I've got my wires all set up and my MLP already on the module. Just drop it down. So now I'm going to take the couplings, just press it down to the module frames where the 2 modules meet, and tighten the clamps. And I'm also going to connect the wires as I go. From one module, and I know right where the next one is. Plug it together, put it in the clips that I placed there. Same thing, taking this, connecting it to the lead from the next module, flip it up. So that gives you an idea of how quickly you can install a row of modules, especially after you've installed that first row. The subsequent rows just slide down.
And Jonah, actually, we may be echoing there. There are a couple questions here, just about how does the overall install speed on average compare to like a rail-based system?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've had residential installers tell us that it's increased their speed by 30 to 40%, which has allowed them to get to that 2 install a day mark. On a metal roof system, we don't have great competing data for the rail systems, but we've seen installers. Jason was just on a project at the Fort Wayne International Airport in Indianapolis, and they did a system where I think a couple of installers on their first day were putting down 50 kilowatts in a day with Jason's help.
Great, thanks. And you mentioned the crews there. You have somebody, let's say, with a small install crew, and you mentioned needing 2 people for the first row. But from there, can it be a one-person job, or is 2 people comfortable?
Yes, absolutely. We have designed this so that it's very easy for one person to do this job, for one person to do every single step after that first row is down. What we see as very successful is to work in pairs where one person is doing some module prep and bringing the module to the person who's then installing it along the row. But it can be done with one person.
Great. And then another question here from Calvin Olson. UL qualifications for this system include all modules qualified for other Unirack racking systems?
Yeah, great question. So our UL 2703 approval for MetalX is specific to MetalX and EcoX as a family. So we have a pretty long list of modules that we've tested and done mechanical load testing as well as ground bond full testing for. And that list can be found on, I believe, both websites now, Unirack and Equilibrium, as we are blending our information together. But it is specific to MetalX/EcoX, which is one family. The nice thing about getting your module approved if it's not on our list, I'm here in the lab in Boulder, where we are a satellite lab for PTL Solar, which is a UL certification lab. And they review our testing, but we can test specific modules in-house, which allows us to turn around a new module approval within 2 weeks from getting the module here. So we have a long list already, and if there's a module not on the list, we can get that approved very quickly.
Great, thanks, Jonah. And Calvin, thank you for the question. And if there's anything else we can answer there, please do reach out to us. So Jonah, I'll turn this back over to you then. Great,
thanks again, Will. So lastly, I just wanted to show some examples of customers that have taken advantage of MetalX. The first one, I asked you all to keep in your mind that swooped roof shape from the first slide, which is the bus depot in Greensboro, North Carolina. This is an example of what our drafting and design team can do to work with the customer and make sure we get it exactly how you want. I think this project, there are really 2 ways to think about that curved roof. One would be to match the curve and have sort of a skew array. But after doing some mock-ups and showing it a few different ways, the customer agreed that this was the nicest way. And they actually, from the beginning, wanted it to line up with the roof seams and not the curved roof line. So that's why it's staggered there. But this is just an example of a project that we're going to make sure we get it right for you and do it the way that you want to do it. And we're going to do it all too. So you can, give us all the feedback, but really we're doing that design work. We're doing the calculations on what the uplift is, what spans you need, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of how to get that done with us. So down here, this is a manufacturing facility below the bus depot in Genoa City, Wisconsin. This really is a typical, in my mind, MetalX project. It's a manufacturing facility with a metal roof, pretty large building, kind of medium size system, 125 kilowatts, went down very smoothly. This customer now uses MetalX really regularly, and I think has increased the amount of metal roof projects that they're looking for. And then on the right side is one of my favorite projects. This is the Madison Area Technical College, which was done by a EcoFoot 2 Plus user. EcoFoot 2 Plus is our, at Equilibrium, that was our flagship ballasted system. And this customer used 2 Plus, you know, on all their projects for membrane roofs. In this particular project, the size of the roof wasn't going to accommodate the power goal that they had. And they wanted to use 2 Plus. They didn't want to go down to a lower tilt. And we looked at the building and saw that there was a metal roof there. And this was when we were just in the process of launching MetalX. So we thought this is, you know, perfect for the customer, perfect opportunity to put a marquee system out there with MetalX on it. So we were able to add 219 kilowatts via MetalX to their total system, which just made their project more of a success for them. You know, made it, and also it balanced out as MetalX has a lower cost per watt on their racking. Obviously the power density, there's only a 3/4 inch gap between rows, so you can get a lot of modules in a space. So that all combined to really make this a win for the customer. And now they too use MetalX all the time, and they're starting to really seek out metal roofs. And what it did for this project was it brought their average racking costs down, as well as their average labor cost. You don't have ballast blocks to carry around like you do on the low slope portion, and you know, there's a lot of labor involved in a ballasted system that just you don't have to do on a MetalX system. MetalX, you saw me install 3 modules here. It's very fast, and we don't have to carry any bricks over when we're done. So that was a great project for the customer and improved their overall margin, I believe, on the project as well. This here is the empty roof of one of our largest MetalX projects. I think it is actually the largest out there right now. And this was a customer that, yeah, the metal roof portion was much larger than the flat roof portion, and they saw the opportunity and they put EcoFoot 2 Plus and MetalX on this roof. And we got some great feedback from the developer, but also the building owner. The building owner was really excited about the low weight, because we were putting less aluminum up on the roof. Even though aluminum rail isn't necessarily that significant of added weight on a building like this, the building owner was very impressed and really appreciated that we were putting less material, less aluminum up on the roof. And there is on the Equilibrium and maybe Unirac website as well, a nice video showcasing this project and showing some scenes from the install that I'd welcome you to check out sometime. So this is most of the way through the MetalX portion, and there's just starting on the EcoFoot 2 Plus portion. You know, nice rectangular arrays. That's another great thing about metal roofs, is those of you that are active in metal roof installations know this, that there are not a lot of obstructions on these metal roofs. You know, the whole idea of the metal roof is to really not have you know, a lot of cutouts and obstructions. So it makes for a really nice design. All those beautiful rectangles is something we all love to see. So here are a couple of quotes from the developer and then the building owner at Keystone Display. The building owner, again, was really impressed with the system and how the system was presented. You know, we provided Sunvest with a really nice design and proposal, and it all comes together. That's what you get from us. You'll see that shortly. And they were able to present that to the building owner, and it really gave the building owner confidence that they were getting a great solution. And then when they saw how fast it was, the building owner was very excited, and you see that quote there. So we mentioned the installer sales specialist. I think that's something that's really important with MetalX. We recognize for installers that are used to installing rail-based systems that direct attached or railless systems are different, and there is a learning curve. I mentioned a lot of that is around wire management. The nuts and bolts of the system couldn't be simpler or more easy to do, and it's really just helping installers get around the different strategies for managing wires on these systems, how to prep the module so it's really easy to wire together when you get it to the roof, strategies for mounting MLPEs. And the ISS team have all kind of created strategies with every module's different, has different lead lengths, different MLPEs, and the ISS teams have seen it all. So they can really help overcome the learning curve. The nice thing about the learning curve with MetalX is by the time, it's not like a residential project where you don't really get into it and really see the advantage. Also on residential projects with Railless, the arrays are not perfect, huge rectangles. But with MetalX, it is a much easier learning curve because for one, it's a larger project. So you're a little bit forced into having to learn it. By the time you're a third of the way done with an array, you're gonna really start to see the efficiency and understand the wire management strategies and really be able to take advantage of the speed. And then by the time you're done with that, 100 kilowatt project, your first project, those installers are going to be experts in how to do this, and they're going to be usually pretty excited to do the next one and not want to look at rail on a metal roof again. So I would encourage
Jonah, I see Jason's not in our picture yet. With COVID, we haven't all had a chance to be together like this. But Jason, you are an installer sales specialist and very familiar. We're all still getting familiar with these things, but we're ready to go, ready to hit the ground running with this, and very excited about it.
Absolutely, and definitely take advantage of that training opportunity. It is, that we don't charge for training. We come out to help you make your project a success. So in order to get started and see what MetalX can do for your next project, it's really the same as any CNI project that you would come to Unirac or Equilibrium with. You just provide your layout. We'll take it on the back of a napkin or an email with some project details and an address, maybe a helioscope and a project size goal. However you want to present it to us. The one difference is that, or the one extra thing is that we want a little more specific information about the roof itself than you might be used to, unless you're already doing this on metal roofs and then you're well versed. We just want some photos of the roof to really confirm that we're all talking about the same roof type. I think metal roof terminology, people mix terms quite a bit and call things different things. So we like visual evidence of what the roof is so that we know that when we send the project out to you, it's going to be a proper roof attachment. Otherwise, it's the standard information that we ask for. We don't have a tilt option for MetalX. I think this slide is showing some typical information that we collect on various other systems as well as MetalX. I do want to clarify though that MetalX is a flush mount system. We don't have a tilt for MetalX, although Unirac does have tilt options for rail-based systems. So when you submit that information to us, our team's going to get working on creating the perfect layout, making sure we have the right roof attachment, and then we'll turn around a nice proposal to you so that you can get through permitting and also impress the building owner, that give them confidence that they're going to get a great solution on their roof.
Jonah, there was another question here from Calvin, which is perfect because I think we're just about at the point where we would be taking questions. And Chris and Jason, if you're still with us, you might want to rejoin us too, because we definitely would like to encourage everybody. I mean, Jonah's still there on the roof, so he can show you anything that you didn't get a good look at or any questions you might have. But Calvin Olson asks, what's the maximum roof pitch supported by MetalX?
So our system is certified to 90 degrees, so 0 to 90 for EcoX and MetalX. We do want to look more closely at anything over 45 degrees. So we would have a little bit of an extra review if it's over 45, but 0 to 45, no problem.
Great. And I'll do a little wrapping up here, but while I do, if anybody wants to raise their hands or ask any further questions, please do so, and we can, again, I can unmute you and we can put you on the air with Jonah if you'd like to talk with him. But we want to thank you again for attending today. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about MetalX. We have some other very exciting things coming up related to Equilibrium. We're going to have another webinar in September that will deal with Equilibrium and Unirac's new flat roof attachment, which is really going to be groundbreaking in terms of its strength, its convenience. It uses Chemlink sealants, so you know, it's very easy to install, very quick. There's no heat welding involved, which is exciting for flat roof applications, and this works perfectly with Equilibrium's flat roof products, and so we'll be doing a webinar on that in September, and that might be of interest to some people here too. I do see one more question here, Jonah, while we're at it. Eric Johnson asks, what's the maximum design snow load that MetalX can handle?
Yeah, great question. We actually have a couple projects that we just designed around Lake Tahoe. So I think we were testing that limit up there. We really are not very limited because of the way that we're attaching. MetalX is almost always installed in landscape. We do allow portrait for 72 cell modules in very low load situations. But what happens when we install in landscape is if you have an extreme snow load, we're just shortening the span versus the alternative with rail is to add a third rail if you're installing in portrait. So Chris, I don't know if you want to speak to the max snow load because you're involved in that Tahoe project, and my understanding was that the module was the limit and that we can basically with the racking handle any snow load.
Yep, in many cases, the module loading is the limit. You know, we can add attachments as needed to accommodate, you know, higher snow loads or higher wind loads. But in our experience, it has been the module that limits that. And as Jonah stated, also, you know, we will push to have the layouts done in landscape, just because that's better for loading and better for the MetalX solution. We can do portrait installs, but we do have to really examine the snow loads and the wind loads in those areas to make sure that will suffice. But we have converted many projects that were sent to us in portrait and converted them over to landscape with not losing, you know, modules or having to reduce the system size. Customers, you know, certainly appreciative of us taking a look at that and providing a solution that works for them and their customer.
Thanks for the question.
Chris, thanks. Jonah, and Eric, thanks again. If you have anything specific in mind that we can help with further, please do let us know. And I'm not seeing any other questions or hands right now, so I'll just say in conclusion, please do stay in touch with us. You can find us on all the major social media networks. You can see there. Our YouTube channel is really one of the best in the business. You will find all kinds of tips and tricks there. You know, basically complete instructions for almost anything that would come up commonly. And we're also integrating everything from Equilibrium there as well. So please do stay in touch with us. You can reach out to us. Our webpage is shown there. Our U-Builder tool is there for things that you can start on yourself. And also our newsletter is really packed with interesting information, including the chance to meet some more people from Equilibrium. So do have a look at that. And we thank you again. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Thank you everyone for attending.